Hello everyone, my name is Griffin and we are back with another reaction video. We are reacting to another Brett Cooper video. This one is called Going No Contact After Your Breakup, a Cure or Cancer. Now, I'd say in a lot of cases, probably going no contact after breakup is probably a good idea because there are plenty of toxic people out there, and there are plenty of people who severely overreact from a breakup. Like, they'll break their ex's stuff, they'll do something to their car, they'll just completely overreact and act stupid. Personally, if you break up, I think you both should just end it there and just go your separate ways. Don't break each other's shit like you're a fucking 5-year-old child. But let's see what this video has to say.
Debate happening on relationship TikTok right now, but I actually think that this is just a debate that everyone faces internally if they've ever been in a relationship and then had a, subsequent breakup and heartbreak. What do you do after the breakup? Like, how do you handle it with the other person involved? Do you speak? Do you ever see each other? Or do you go no contact? Now, to me...
For me, I have, I haven't really had, I've only ever had one problem with one of my exes. Because she tried to falsely accuse me of something that I never did, just because I broke up with her. The second time we got back together. The first time we got together, I think she was the one that ended it, and she wanted to get back together, we did. And the second time, I ended up ending it, and after that, she tried to falsely accuse me of something I never did. Because she was upset that I broke up with her. Now, other than that, all my other breakups were pretty, amicable. There was no hostility or anything. But for some reason, they ended up blocking me and going no contact with me. And it was just like, okay, that's fine by me. That's their decision. I'm not going to force them to keep talking to me. But I would say probably going no contact is perfectly fine. There's nothing wrong with it. Now, if you both have a kid involved in the relationship, like it's both biologically yours, both of yours, then going no contact, I'd say it depends on what's going on. But if it doesn't involve a kid, I would say going no contact is perfectly fine and reasonable. Just go on with that. Go on with your life.
The answer seems pretty clear. You just cut dry, move on with your life. But other people aren't so sure. Before we dive into this, though, make sure that you like this video, subscribe to the comment section channel if you have not already, and of course, hit that little notification bell so you always stay up to date on every single one of our uploads. So the TikTok For You page started feeding me this debate with this first video from a Canadian content creator who often talks about dating. And he shared what goes on through a man's head during a breakup and during this no contact period.
Ladies, this is how men feel during no contact. I've spoke with my friends many times about their no contact experiences, and all of the conversations seem to fall into two buckets. The first bucket being, oh, I realized that I didn't like this person that much. I was just infatuated with them. Because you go no contact and you kind of forget that they exist, and that's a very clear sign that you were really not that into this person, you were just infatuated with them.
I would have to agree with that. There are a lot of people who get into a relationship and they go through what is known as the honeymoon phase, where they're just infatuated, they're just so into each other. But after a certain amount of time, that sort of spark or whatever that kept them together and so all over each other and everything just sort of disappears. And the feelings and everything are just not there. And they don't feel the need or the want to do anything to keep the relationship going. And I find those kind of things, it's more of puppy love rather than actual long-term love. So, like he said, those people are just infatuated with each other. They're not really in love with each other and want to have a long-term relationship. And there's plenty of those. There's nothing wrong with those kind of relationships as long as there's no toxicity or anything in them and it just ends amicably. But nothing wrong with those type of relationships. Many of them happen all over the world. I'd say it's probably pretty common.
The second bucket, and I've had this conversation with many of my friends, is realizing during no contact, wow, wow, I missed this person. You check their social media, you check what they're up to. If you don't miss this person and you don't think about them, and you realize you were just infatuated with them, if they reach out, it's probably best to not respond.
True.
But if you miss this person and you realize that they were somebody that's very important to you, if they reach out to you, or maybe you just break no contact and reach out to them, it could be worth exploring to see where things are at.
So in my opinion, that wasn't very revolutionary. It's like, yeah, I guess those are the two buckets. But the comments, they had a lot of feelings. Somebody said, I missed her like crazy for 5 days, and then I completely forgot about her. So
Yeah, those are... I'd say if you guys break up, give it about, I'd say, shortest time, a week to a month or more. And if you still feel like you miss that person and you really still want to talk to them, be around them and all that stuff, then I'd say reach out and see what happens, how things go. But if after a week your feelings start to fade, you start to not really care or not really miss a person, then I would say just keep the no contact and just move on. Because if you try and contact this person while these while this feelings start to fade and everything, then I'd say don't try it. It's not worth it. It's just going to lead to heartbreak. It's going to lead to a bunch of crap.
that means you made the right decision, obviously. Somebody else said that's how women feel during no contact as well. And that was my thought too. Like, this is just part of the human experience. Now, I do wonder though, and nobody's really talked about this yet, is this a more contemporary problem? Like, obviously we've slapped a label on it. We're going no contact. If you don't know what I'm talking about, if this is all just Gen Z gibberish for you, it means not speaking. It means breaking up and moving on with your life. Not, calling and texting and DMing and liking posts. You just move on. Maybe you block them. Maybe you unfollow them. You have severed ties.
Drop the phone! Drop your phone!
You are not in contact, hence no contact. I was so aggressive that I literally just kicked off my bracelet. Anyway, but I do think that this is more contemporary. Like, a few decades ago, it was a lot easier to just have a clean break and move on because there was no social media. There was no ability to swipe up on somebody's story or like their story or send some kind of late night text or, ooh, I accidentally sent you a Snapchat. You just moved on. And if you really wanted to see them or if they really wanted to see you, they would have to make a much grander gesture, like literally flying across the country and showing up at your house with flowers. And yes, that did happen to my mother. And no, she did not take him back. So take that as you will. But anyway, all of
Yeah. Like, before all this social media and internet and all this stuff happened, courtship was a lot. People had to really put themselves out there to try and court somebody and hopefully get them to like them. They had to put a lot more effort into it because you had to actually show up in person or call them over the phone. And before phones came out, they actually had to go to the person and court them. And the only sort of people you were able to see was, people you would go to work with, people just in your town or something like that, because there was no way for you to talk to anybody outside of your own state without having to look through a phone book, the yellow pages. Nowadays, it's a lot more easier to do all this stuff because you could just swipe right or swipe left or whatever, and there's not much effort to put into it anymore. But yeah, now it's also dangerous because you have people who turn into pretty creepy stalkers. And they could just stalk everything you do because pretty much everything you do is now online and it's for the entire world and their mother to see.
all of this just seems so heightened by social media. And per usual, social media and this whole digital world has made every single aspect of relationships and love and dating that much more complicated.
But it's fun!
In general, it does seem like most people are in favor of the clean break. No contact, no matter their feelings about the ending of the relationship, especially women. Listen to this.
If you're completely done with the situation, you want to get over them as quickly as possible, ripping off the band-aid and completely cutting off access is the only way you're going to heal, because the second you give them access, you get looped back into, okay, well, maybe we should be together. You cannot move on to what's actually meant for you if you are stuck in what you already know is not meant for you.
Oh, Yes, that goes for literally everything. If you keep going back when you know that it's wrong, when you stay in a situation that you know is not meant for you, you are just holding your future self back. You are keeping yourself from finding the things that are actually great for you that you actually want. And it's fear. And obviously that's a risk and it's going to be uncomfortable and it's going to hurt, but it usually works out in the end. Or you realize maybe you were wrong about the situation that you were in, which she then talks about.
If, on the other hand, you want to get back together with them and you're sure about allowing that other person this space and time to gain clarity is absolutely essential, because you don't want to be the person begging for that other person back. You want to be with someone who's actually sure about you.
And also, that clean break and giving yourself time also gives you clarity and allows you to decide, oh, was that actually as good of a relationship as I thought? Or was this not really meant for me and I need to move on?
And there are situations where there are some people who are so blinded that there are people who have broken up and gotten back together so many times that it borders on insanity. Like, I knew somebody who broke up and got back together with the same person, I swear, like 10 to 20 freaking times. It's like, after the first 2 or 3 times, you should probably realize, hey, you guys probably aren't meant for each other. Why are you still constantly getting back together and breaking up? What you guys are doing is pretty much bordering on, if not actual, insanity. I mean, if you're breaking up that many times, you have to realize something is toxic enough to make you guys keep doing that. At that point, I think they're only getting back together just to fuck each other. I mean, yeah, sometimes the sex may be good with the person, but that doesn't mean it's a good idea to keep getting back with them. Sex isn't everything, people. I mean, it's just, some of these people need to realize that if you break up at the very most 2 or 3 times, you should probably not be dating that person anymore. Breaking up once and getting back together, I think is fine, because you probably realize, hey, maybe we were meant for each other, but we still have some things we could probably work on. Excuse me. If you break up a second time, I'd say it really depends on what the breakup was and how you get back together. But even after the second time, if you break up again, I'd say that's it. Just move on, find somebody else that's actually better for you. Or just stay single. Either way. Just, I don't get why there are people who break up multitude of times and still get back together multitude of times only to keep breaking up again. I don't understand that mentality. I know it's categorized as Stockholm Syndrome, but my God, people, get some fucking help.
You can't have that clarity if you're still stuck in the mess, or as my mom says, if you're still involved in the clinging vine that you can't get rid of. Like, you really have to hack off the vine, become a clear tree trunk, but you gotta be clear of them so that you can make up your mind about what actually is meant for you. So basically, going no contact is a win-win situation, because you get over them, you move on fast, or you realize that maybe a mistake was made, which we will talk about later. Here's another take from another girl.
Why no contact always works?
It's very aggressive.
She looks like she's high as fuck. Or drunk.
Only works if he really likes you. Correct. If that man can go any amount of time, 1 week, 1 month, 1 year, without thinking of you or without thinking to check in on you, he didn't really like you that much.
So in this context, this is somebody who wants to get back together, doesn't want to do no contact because they don't want to risk not getting back together. But she, like the other girl, is of the mindset that no, you just kind of have to do it because you're going to see if you both actually want to be in the relationship and if you both desire it enough to make it happen.
I did no contact and he unfollowed me everywhere. Duh. He's not going to watch you live your best life without him. You'll realize he didn't play you. He played himself out of everything you had to offer that man.
And there are also some people you have to really be careful of, because there are people who try to keep you around just as a backup or a secondary option, rebound, or whatever. So you have to really be careful of those kind of people, because that is nothing but toxic, manipulative, and abusive behavior. I mean, sometimes there are people are really, really subtle about it, so it's hard to see. But you have to watch the behaviors and all this sort of stuff that's been going on throughout the friendship or relationship that you've had with a person, to really see if this person is either truly trying to keep you in their lives because they truly care, or if they're just doing it to keep you as a backup option. And if they're doing the latter, cut off all contact and everything, because those are the kind of people you do not need in your life. It's nothing but stress, anxiety, and it's just all around not good for your mental and emotional well-being. So you have to be careful of those kind of people, and you have to really see the signs if that is what is happening with the relationship between you and that person, or the multiple people. So be careful of those kind of people, because they're just all around not good people.
Or he will move on and find somebody that he likes better, and I'm sorry, that might hurt, but you should also go on and...
Oh, and that also reminds me, there are also people who try and keep you in their lives. As soon as they see you find somebody else because they decided to give up on you. And all right, no, let me rephrase that. If you are the person that they are trying to keep around them, and you find somebody else, and all of a sudden they're desperately trying to get you back, or trying to say that they actually still cared about you, want to get back with you, immediately cut that person off. Because all they're trying to do is keep you single and try to keep you as a backup option, or trying to keep you as some sort of support so they don't, have to worry or anything. So, like I said, cut those kind of people off, because they're nothing but trouble.
Find somebody better, because if he doesn't come crawling back or whatever you want, that's a sign that you should probably move on as well, and vice versa. So again, no matter your goals in this breakup or how you felt about the end of the relationship, a clean break is often a good thing. But on the contrary, others are arguing that you do have to talk again. You do have to kind of get roped back in. Basically, in my terms, you just have to get yourself hurt again to know for sure that what you're doing is right. I think that's wrong, but listen to what this person has to say about it.
Everyone I've heard has told me not to break no contact. Every time I do break no contact, it just results in a complete failure, and I hate myself, and I feel so sad again.
Yeah, yes, we could end the video here. You feel awful. You hurt yourself again. Break up.
I understand that there are some people who break no contact because they want to get a reason as to why the person broke up with them or anything. It's like they cannot live without the closure of wanting to know why. And I get that. I understand you want to know why, but you can live without knowing why. And sometimes it's better to move on without ever knowing why. So I would say it's never a good idea to break no contact in those sort of situations. Like I said earlier in the video, I think the only way to a good idea to break no contact is after a week to at most, I'd say a month. If you still feel like you miss the person, you care about the person, you want the person in your life, then break no contact, contact the person, and then just wait and see how it goes. If that person feels the same way and they truly show that they still feel that they feel the same way as you do, then try and see if you can build a relationship again and get back together. I think that is the only reason you should break no contact. Any other reason other than that, then I don't think breaking no contact is a good idea. I don't think it's a good idea. You shouldn't do it. Just move on with your life. You'll be happier for it.
Breakups are literally the worst thing in the world. Why? Okay, anyway, she has a reason. Let's watch.
I think it's literally critical to break the no contact rule when you get to a point where you're like, oh my gosh, I cannot stop thinking about this guy. Or, oh my gosh, I need to know just one last time if he is actually certain that we are not supposed to be together. Or maybe over time, maybe like over these 3 to 6 months that we have been apart, maybe things have changed. Maybe now he's ready.
Maybe. Don't break it. Do not get involved and then break up and hurt yourself because of a maybe.
Stop that!
Absolutely not. The comments I was very happy about. I was like, tentatively scrolling down like, please, God, don't agree. This is going to be so devastating. But people were heated. Somebody said, I broke no contact, got back together, and completely reestablished our relationship. Then he ghosted me. Do not break no contact. Another person said, never break the no contact rule. You are just showing them that they can break any of your boundaries. Seriously bad advice. Learned the hard way. Just like I learned the hard way that going to your yearly checkup doesn't give you all the answers, which is why I use Merrick Health. Now, as you guys know, I am a huge proponent of empowerment and taking your health into your own hands, which is just another reason why I love Merrick Health. Merrick Health. Another person said, if you've gotten to the point of no contact, it is not worth looking back. Work on impulse control, which she didn't type at the end, but I think that's what she...
I know I said for breaking no contact. The thing, if you find out they don't feel the same as you, immediately cut it off there. It's done. You found out the person doesn't feel the same way as you do, and you just need to accept that, and then just completely cut it off. Don't ever go back to it again. Block, ban, just erase all that contact and just move on with your life. I'd say that is probably the best option, because if after a few days the feeling doesn't stay and it starts to disappear, then don't break no contact at all. But like I said, after a week to a month, if the feelings are still there, just contact the person, see if they feel the same way. If they don't, move on. It's done. It might suck to hear that they don't feel the same way, but you know, some people just need that feeling of reestablishment that, okay, this person doesn't feel the same way. Time to move on. Find somebody new, or just stay single. And if they feel the same way, don't get back into the relationship right away. I'd say do as the normal process goes. Be friends for a little bit, sort of build that trust, build those feelings again, build that relationship, and then if it gets to a point where you think there's both time to get into a relationship, then do so. But down the line, if you break up again, that's it. It's done. Just go no contact. Don't ever break no contact again.
She was trying to say, which is a great way to put it. And we're going to talk about that in a few seconds after we do watch this one last video, because obviously people were not sold on that advice, but I did see this version. So POV, you get back together after months of no contact. And then this girl stitches it.
This is what I'm talking about. It is possible, guys. It's possible.
Full disclosure, we went back and we looked at that original video where they're cuddling and happy. They broke up. Again, they broke no contact. They got back together. It did not end well. So take that with a grain of salt. Now, it is possible, but does that mean that it's right for 95% of people? Not exactly.
Yeah. The thing is, with those kind of things, it's about 8 to 9 out of 10 times, it's not going to happen. Those 1 to 2 out of 10 times, it does happen. But the majority of the times that it does happen, most of the times it doesn't work out. But there are times where it does work out and the people do end up staying together for a very long time. And even less of those end up either staying together till they die, or they marry, they have a family, or they just stay married and die together, so on and so forth. So it's a hit or miss depending on whether it'll work out or not.
But the comments were full of stories from people where it did work out. So I do think that it's worth sharing that. One person said, still going strong here, 5 months so far after a year and a half of no contact, broken up. We listen to each other so much more now and respect each other's time and love languages. We needed that time apart. Another person said, I will say, my husband and I went no contact for 3 months. This was 16 years ago. Got back together, married almost 14 years. So obviously it can work. I'm sitting here across from my producer where it literally did work for her. And she and her husband, who are some of our best friends, are now married and very happy. But even though no one really asked for my opinion, I'm going to give it. My thought on all of this, which is partially based on personal experience, is that no contact is usually the right thing to do. It creates a clean break. There's no lingering, no questions. You just move on. It gives you the time and clarity and closure that you need in a relationship. Now, if you were to break no contact, if you want to be in that lucky bunch where they got back together and it did work out, it should be for a specific reason. It cannot be based on the maybes and the missings and the hopefuls. Maybe you physically need something from them and you have to reach out and speak to them because of that. Maybe you feel the need to say something to your ex, like if a tragedy occurred in their life and you feel compelled to reach out, which is totally fine and understandable because you shared part of your life with them. Or, and this is the most important one and valid one in my opinion, or you reach out because very clear, concrete circumstances have changed in either of your lives and you might want to try again. Maybe one of you has put in the work that would fix the, obvious problems in your relationship, and maybe you think that it would be worth reopening the door at that time because things could be different. And if you have worked through it and it makes logical, rational, not emotionally sad, driven sense that it might be a good time, then maybe yes, it will work out like many of these commenters shared, like Reagan experienced. But when you should not break no contact, and when I mean should not, take it from me and my personal experiences, you should not break no contact when you are lonely. You should not break no contact if you miss them and yet nothing has changed and the problems would still exist and you should be focusing on your future. Do not text in that circumstance. Somebody on TikTok said, remember to distinguish between missing the person or missing the feelings attached to the relationship. That is just so concise and so spot on. And I know that this is difficult, but all self-awareness and being honest with yourself is difficult, but you have to make sure that you're not convincing yourself that it will be different this time or that things have changed just because you are lonely.
I miss my wife, Tails. I miss her a lot. I'll be back.
Like, I had a close friend do that after a few months apart, and they basically convinced themselves that the problems were fixed, but then they spent another 2 years fighting and being miserable and running around the same problems again and again, and then they finally broke up for good after an almost 5-year on and off run. You have to be honest with yourself about when it's logical and when it's emotional. Because I did this. I did it twice with the same person, and it set me back months. And if we're being totally honest, I do think that it hurt him more than it hurt me because I was instigating it, because I knew personally, and I hate saying this, but I knew that it wouldn't work in the long run. And yet I was lonely and it was familiar and it felt comfortable. And so I let it drag on. Regret, massive regret. Do not do it. Know the difference between being certain that things are different and that it would work and just being lonely. And most importantly, have the confidence to not just make a clear cut and walk away, but to keep moving forward, because it's not just about you. There's another person involved in this relationship who is also trying to move forward and heal. You have to consider that when you decide to reach out.
Yeah, the feelings of being lonely, it can be quite powerful. I've tried to reach out to plenty of people over the years. I've been single for over 10 years now, which I don't understand how people enjoy being single, but I've reached out to plenty of people in the 10 or so years that I've been single, and it's all out of loneliness that I've done it. And I would say that's not the best way to go about it. Is don't contact somebody, don't try and get with somebody just because you're lonely. So that was Brett Cooper's video on going no contact after your breakup, a cure or cancer. I would love to hear all your guys' opinions on this going no contact. Do you believe it is a good thing? Do you believe it is a bad thing? Are there certain circumstances that you believe about it? Let me know what you have to say, and let me know if any stories you have for going no contact. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. Make sure to subscribe for more. I post 3 days a week. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I will see you all in the next video. Bye-bye.